All right, Reese, can you hear us? Just do an audio check, or anybody that's on, that can give us a thumbs up for audio. We got thumbs up. Thank you. Perfect. All right, we start here in 1 minute, just to respect everybody's time as you're maybe on your lunch breaks or hiding behind your monitor in your desk or whatever, whatever you're doing at noon on a Friday. We want to make it quick and short for everyone. Not necessarily. Second here. All right, it is 12 o'clock, so we want to start it right on time just to respect everybody's time. It's a Friday. It is noon, so we really appreciate those of you who come and those of you that are logging on now. Get settled. We have a little agenda here, a couple slide decks we're going to go through, about 11 of them, and then we'll go through an agenda, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end where you can ask questions. If we don't have answers, we have some contact details for you. So it's a little agenda for the webinar. So we'll do a little intro, who the two people on the other side of the camera are. We're going to talk about the Greener Homes program, what has changed, what's still there, as well as a new program, which is the OHPA program, which is a heating program through Efficiency Nova Scotia we're going to talk about. And then what's the current path to get there, some energy upgrades, things that could be working out for your home. And then we're going to allot 20 minutes or so at the end for a Q&A session. So intros. My name is Ryan Graves, and the operations manager here at Sunshine. And next to me,
I'm Richard Ross. I'm the owner of Sunshine.
Yeah, 11 years in the making.
11 years in business.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Yeah, still going strong. For those of you who've done business with us before, thank you. And those of you who haven't, we are based out of Dartmouth. We're locally owned and operated. We basically deal 50 minutes to an hour from Burnside. We've actually just moved into our new facility on Eisner Drive. So that is us. After, by all means, if you want to pop in, check out some stuff. We have some demos and things throughout the building. So that is us, and that is who we are. So Richard's going to talk a little bit about the Greener Homes financing program. It's still in existence, but a portion of the Greener Homes program has been paused. Richard will talk a little bit about kind of where we're currently at and what you can do to take advantage of the 0% loan.
Yeah, so basically, the last couple of years, they had the Greener Homes grant available to anyone. So that was regardless of any income eligibility. Unfortunately, as of February 5th of this year, they took away the $5,000 grant that was available. However, they still do have the 10-year interest-free loan that is available. Now, the big thing with this is that these are for like full home solutions. So you would essentially, if you were doing a ducted heat pump, you would have to do a full ducted heat pump coming off of oil to electric as a backup. And then if you were doing mini splits, the requirement for mini splits would be you would have to have at least one on every floor of your house. So if you had a split entry, you had to have one on the main floor, one in the basement. Or if you had a two-story home, you had to have one on the main floor, one on the top level, and then one in the basement if it was over 6 feet in height, which the majority of basements are. But that 0% financing is still available to this day, which is a huge savings and a much easier way to get into these larger home energy retrofit programs. There still is provincial rebates available. Those would be $300 for every 12,000 BTUs on a mini split, and then $500 for every 12,000 BTUs on a ducted system. There's different, some people have to do service upgrades, some people have to do oil removal. There are different, but we come out, do a free assessment, give you an idea of the costs and the steps in order to get there. The one requirement in order to get that 0% finance up to $40,000, by the way, is that you would have to get an energy audit done on your home. And once you have your energy audit done, you then submit your quotes in for financing. And then once your financing is approved, we can book the job, and then they release the funds to you and you release the funds to us. There's really no upfront costs for this. And like I say, that 0% financing over 10 years really does, take some of the stress off of some of the costs of this work that you may or may not be doing. When it comes to mini splits, you don't necessarily have to come off of oil. But the majority of the time when it comes to a ducted system, you are going to be coming off of oil because there are very few ways to stay on oil and do your whole home with a ducted system that is eligible under the criteria of the loan program. Yeah, so anybody who did get their audit before February 5th of this year, you are still entitled to that $5,000 rebate. And there is a time limit on that. Because once they run out of money, they're gonna stop that program. So if you did get in before that February 5th deadline, it's a good idea. And not to mention the fact that also this 0% financing is not necessarily guaranteed forever. So that interest-free loan could go away at any time. So it's something that is definitely something serious to consider when you're looking at these larger upgrades.
Yeah, awesome. And then the next step, Richard will touch on just sort of the general path, so the road path to get there, and what's kind of involved with getting from I want a heat pump to I want to use a 0% interest loan.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, the one thing that you have to do in order to get these loans is you definitely have to get an energy audit by a service organization. We partner with HomeSol, who does the majority of our energy audits. So they would come out and do an energy audit on your home. We would come out and provide a free estimate on the work that you would have to get done in order to qualify for those programs. Or if you were just doing a single heat pump or whatever it is that you were looking for, we would provide it at that time. And then once you have your quote and your energy report back, then you would submit your documents into NRCan for an approval for the loan. And then once we have that approval back, then we start booking the job depending on that job. If there's a service upgrade involved, you could be looking at like 8 to 12 week timeline. It could be even more depending on how long it takes to get your energy audit and whatnot. And then once the project is completed, then you have to get a secondary audit to verify the work had been completed. And then once that is done, then they release the funds for you to pay us.
Very straightforward.
It's
it's about as straightforward as it can be. You have an audit done at the beginning, you get some quotes together, you approve whatever you want to do, you apply for your 0% interest loan, and then you have a post retrofit audit done after that. A couple steps to jump through, but for 0% interest, I mean, we don't all think about how much 0% could save, but 0% interest on a $20, $15, $30,000 loan is a huge amount of savings. So it is 100% worth the time. So the next slide we have here is, did I skip one? Nope. What's going on here? Technology, cool. So is the OPA program, not to be confused with anything else. It's it's another acronym from Efficiency Nova Scotia for the Oil to Heat Pump Affordability Program. This program is really designed kind of like a multifaceted approach to incentivize people that are currently on oil heat to come off of oil or supplement the current oil usage in their home. So this can be somebody on hot water based board oil, forced air oil. Those would be the two primary oil heating sources in our house, as long as you are in our neighborhood and houses. Would be a 500, you need to use 500 liters of oil per year to qualify for the program. And then there's also an income base, which we'll get into in a second. So effectively, the government of Canada has provided a $15,000 rebate as a part of the OPA program to complete the installation. So, as it outlines your electrical and mechanical upgrades required for a new heat pump, removal and decommissioning and recycling and remediation of oil from the property. You don't have to remove oil, but if you want to get off of oil, you have a 30-year-old oil furnace, for example, there's no point keeping it. Installation of a backup heating system. We'll get into the differences between ductless and ducted and those things, but a central heat pump with an electric backup. And anything that's related to do that, the oil tank, any electrical service upgrade requirements, all of that stuff. That's the OPA program from just a high level. We have some examples of the next slide that shows how the rebates will work for two different installation scopes. On the right-hand side, there's a income component to this program where you have to meet an after tax. So the numbers you see in the table are after tax per people in a home, also inclusive of children. So if you were, parents with a child, there's 3 individuals in a home. After tax, you need to be bringing $98,900 home or less to qualify for the program. So, and one side note too, if you want to ask questions, just put it in the QA panel, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll go through those and make sure to get some answers to you. So, really simple math equation here. So, this was something that we collaborated with Efficiency as we're trying to understand the program ourselves. Kind of the point of this webinar was to share some of the information that we have that we've gotten from Efficiency to try to make it something that people can wrap their heads around. So 2 different examples. We have a ductless and a ducted installation. And then the 4 different programs that are currently available to most people. So the acronyms that you see are HEA, it's a home energy audit. So that's where perhaps you wouldn't qualify for any of the other subsidies and you're just having a home energy audit done in your house. There's the MER program, which is the moderate income program, and the OPA, which is the off oil heating assistance program. So a few different examples of installations. The one on the left would be a 3 indoor unit ductless installation. So very conventional, maybe a bungalow in Cole Harbour. You have a unit in the living room, unit into the basement, and maybe you have one in the master bedroom, for example. That was how that quote was dealt with. So if you're someone that's doing a home energy audit and you fall into moderate income, so this customer wants to say has propane and wants to go for a heat pump, you would get the home energy audit rebate of $800 rebate, because the way they structure the rebates is $300 per ton. So at basically 3 tons, there's an $880 rebate. The MER rebate is $1,000 per ton, which is $2,960, to give you a total provincial rebate of $3,848. This rebate obviously is a small component of the entirety of the installation. In this case, is just under $15,000. The next situation is a scenario where the customer has oil and can prove that they have 500 liters of oil consumed, which every house that has oil is going to use more than that, even just with the domestic water. So you'd get the HEA rebate at $880, you'd get the MER rebate of $2,960, and then for a home that's using oil, then you get the $15,000 for the total of $18,848. I hope everybody is confused, as we were reading this for the first time as well. So I apologize, but that's how those programs stack. And then the last one is option for folks that don't want an assessment, that they do not want a home energy audit. They just want to do OPA by themselves. So this is somebody that's gone on and applied themselves, not somebody that's a part of the moderate income program that Efficiency has reached out to. So it's kind of a different way of doing it. The folks that don't want to do an assessment. So You get the heating rebate through the provincial rebate of $880, and you also get the $15,000 OHPA transition, so $15,880. So that's just some examples on the ductless side. On the ducted side, same idea. I'm not going to go through them. This presentation will be sent out when we upload it to our YouTube channel, so you can look at it later and pause this if you like. This would be a full central installation. So this is somebody coming off of oil, doing an oil forced air conversion, a service upgrade, electric hot water tank, what we would categorize as a conversion, so completely off oil, central ducted heat pump. Same theory, this is how the rebates would break down for that. So obviously the most advantageous one is, if you can qualify for it, would be the heating assistance, the modern income and OHPA, which is $26,000 of the rebates, makes a huge dent in it. The calculations do get rather complex, we'll say, as you see here, and how the math's broken out. They base a lot of these rebates off of the heating load of the heat pump. So it's not the number you see typically when you see a ductless heat pump, 9,000 or 12,000 BTUs. It's based off the rated heating capacity, which you'd have to check with the manufacturer's submittal. They have a technical document that would show you what those ratings were. So that's it as far as how rebates are currently structured, what you can achieve if you wanted to, or you can, and what would be available to you dependent on the scenario, if it's income or if it's you've elected to do it, or maybe you don't qualify for those two things and you want to do a just a home energy assessment. So I'm sure lots of questions on that. We'll do our best to answer those shortly. This here is a video of a home energy evaluation. This video is something that HomeSol has put together to give a good breakthrough of what they do in a home energy audit. Yes, rebates are the focal point. You do the energy audit, you get the rebates, but there's a lot that comes from it to really understand the efficiency of your house. What things can you do to save money? It maybe heat pumps are one of a few things. Insulation, heat pump hot water tanks. There's all sorts of things that come from this report that are really beneficial to understand what things can be done to save money in your home. So we'll play this video if it wants to work for me.
When you have an energy advisor come to do an evaluation on your home, they're using the EnerGuide rating system developed by Natural Resources Canada, which is an essential part of energy efficiency grant and loan programs. Regional partners and licensed service organizations such as HomeSol use this energy rating to evaluate the energy performance of your home and make recommendations that will provide you with the information to make your house more comfortable, less energy waste, which will get it closer to net zero energy. Before the evaluation is complete, here are some tips on what to expect. If you have a wood-burning fireplace or stove, it needs to have ash and coals removed, swept clean, and the dampers closed. This is to prevent ash and soot from getting all over your home. Upon arrival, the energy advisor will greet you and ask you questions like, do you experience any comfort issues? Are you already considering specific upgrades? The energy advisor will begin by taking measurements and photos of your home both inside and outside. The advisor will record the make and model of your mechanical systems, which include heating, cooling, ventilation, hot water, and document if there are any bathroom exhausts, a range hood, or a clothes dryer. The insulation type and amount in all items will be recorded from the access hatch. The advisor will perform an exhaust devices test. The purpose of this test is to determine if your exhaust fans can draw combustion gases into your home from fuel-burning appliances. The blower door test is next to determine the airtightness of the house. This simulates a 32 kilometers an hour wind pressure on all sides of the building. Please note, if vermiculite is identified, the blower door test cannot be performed because of the potential for asbestos. While the house is still being depressurized, the energy advisor will show you where the air leaks are around your home so that you can visualize where the energy is being wasted. After completion of the home evaluation, your energy advisor will complete the energy model within 2 weeks, providing an EnerGuide label, a homeowner information sheet, and a renovation upgrade report, which will be submitted to Natural Resources Canada. The renovation upgrade report will provide you with measured information that can help you determine which upgrades will have the biggest impact on providing a more comfortable house that also reduces energy waste. You can't manage what you don't measure, so get started by booking an evaluation with Home Solar Building Solutions today.
Awesome. So that's just a quick video of what an energy audit looks like. It just, we do get caught up in rebates and things like those are amazing, obviously, but it's really good to understand kind of where your house sits now, and what things you can do. So here's two different types of heat pumps that are very common, a ductless and a ducted. So as you can see, the little happy dog there, he's enjoying the air conditioning from the ductless heat pump. So those are the units that you typically see on the wall. These are really great for older homes that are coming off of oil, or staying on oil for that matter. In some cases, we do ductless heat pumps throughout the main living spaces. So typically like a living room, rec room, master bedroom, things like that. They're strategically placed throughout the house to try to climatize as much space as possible. The limiting factor to a ductless heat pump is it doesn't push heat throughout the entirety of the house. So if you put a heat pump in the living room, you have some limitations to it coming down the hallway and around a corner into a back room, for example. They are really designed for immediate space. They are easily adaptable to all sorts of different houses. There's all sorts of different options depending on where you're living. Typically, a ductless heat pump sized in BTUs based on the square footage of the space it's going in. Ductless heat pump can cover anywhere from 300, small bedroom, up to 1,500 plus square feet very comfortably. The other option is a ducted heat pump. So that's somebody that has wanting to remove their oil furnace from their house and then use the existing ductwork in their home to do heating and cooling. So as the illustration has here, you have an outdoor unit, very much the exact same concept as a ductless unit. You have an internal air handler that's cycling air through the return air of the home and then sending that through the supply leads. This is the Cadillac of the heating and cooling world. If you're coming off of forced air oil, a central heat pump is really the way to go. If you want to come up with a rough idea of what the savings would be, people ask that question all the time. Obviously, that's the goal, right? Is to save money. It's about 90 cents a liter, roughly. Every house is different, but just a quick little science project. Where oil and a forced air oil and a central heat pump, there's really no cost savings to run them. Now at $1.50 a liter, whatever home oil is now, you can kind of quickly tabulate how many liters of oil were used, and it kind of comes up with a rough representation of what you would save. So those are the two common installations that we would use, ductless and ducted. And ducted is an option too if you don't have ducting in your house. It's a large project, but ducting could be put in as well. There are alternative options that are very common that we do a lot of, ducted attic units where we have an air handler into the attic and then it's ducted into each room on the top floor. They're great for a single level solution. We do them in ranch style slab homes. We do them in a lot of bedrooms where there might be 3 bedrooms or 4 or whatever upstairs. It's a great way of dealing with that floor plan. So the next thing here, just some additional energy upgrades. Richard will touch on some really big things that are coming through now that we're seeing a lot more of than we ever have. I'll let Richard touch on those.
So obviously the one on the left here is the solar. So solar does fall under that also that 0% financing for the 10 years. There is also a provincial rebate of 30 cents per watt, up to 10 kilowatts. So you could also get a $3,000 rebate on a 10 kilowatt solar system. Basically, we do a free design for you, show you what it would look like on your roof, show you what the output would be comparable to what your electricity bills would be. And then it also gives you your return on investment over time. We've been doing a lot more of these lately. It's a really good investment. And it's also great for the resale of the home. The one in the middle here, this is for hot water baseboard systems. So if you're doing the as we were kind of in the previous page, with the ducted system that does the whole house electrically with the heat pump in the backup. This would be for a oil hot water baseboard system that needs a backup for the mini splits that we would put in, because typically when it's hot water baseboard or electric baseboard, we're generally looking at mini splits. So this would be your backup for that system. So it'd be an electric hot water tank and then an electric boiler off to the side. That would really do your domestic hot water and then your backup heating for the heat pump. If it was, I mean, really nowadays, the heat pumps can basically do 100% of the time. But there are times where, you know, maybe your heat pump could break down, or it could be that it does get a little bit cold, and you do need a little bit of a boost. But really, they're just like they're there for backup. For, in my opinion, if your heat pump breaks down, you need to have a backup for that heat pump. It's not the same as what the oil boilers or the oil furnaces were. They don't get fixed same day. We have to find out what the problem is, come back and repair after we've diagnosed the problem. And then on the right here, we have the ETS units. That's the electric thermal storage unit. That is where you can get onto the time of day meter by adding these to your home. The time of day meter is basically a differential in rates. So it's a tiered rate system. So the way that works is Monday to Friday from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. Friday from 11 p.m. until Monday morning at 7 a.m. And then all of your national and provincial holidays. They basically charge you half price electricity for the entire house. So typically what we do is we add in ETSs wherever we would need to in order to get you on the time of day meter. We would also hook up a timer on your electric hot water tank. So your hot water tank takes its charge at night on the lower peak rates. Also really interesting is when it comes to solar or electric cars, you're creating the solar energy during the daytime when the electricity is most expensive in your house, and then you're consuming it back during the nighttime when the electricity is the lowest costs. And then same with the electric car. If you were charging your car at night, you're basically charging your car at half price electricity. I know Ryan drives an electric car, and it basically costs him like $11 to fill his battery, versus if it was on a regular, it would be more like $22 to $25 during the day. So you know, significant savings can be had there. The other things that you can do with that, which would only benefit, but not necessarily like significantly, but definitely a benefit, is if you're running your dishwasher literally has a timer delay on it specifically for the time of day meter. So if you're running your dishwasher at night, dishwasher is running at half price. If you're to do your laundry on the weekends, the whole weekend is all half price electricity, so you can fill your boots with all of your laundry and any of your heavy loads that you're looking at.
Yeah, it's great. Time, like Richard said, I have time of day metering at my house, and changed your lifestyle a little bit, because you're setting your, like Richard mentioned, you're setting your dishwasher to come on at night and your dryer to come on at night, and maybe you have a hot tub, so you're changing the secondary heater to come on at night. It changed the way you do things, but makes a pretty big difference. I've cut my power bills by a little over 40% by doing wash on the weekends and things like that. So the units that you see in the picture are the Ecombi ETS unit. So you could put two of you have to put a minimum of two, one on each floor in a living space. So that could be like a master bedroom, rec room, whatever. Two of them to qualify for time of day metering. Pretty common thing that we're doing a lot more of now that power rates have gone up and people are looking for ways to save. So all right, so we are almost exactly 30 minutes of panels, and we did enough of that in elementary school, so we wanted to keep it quick and try to answer some questions. While I have this up, that is my contact information. We're gonna go through the questions here. For anybody that's made it this far, congrats, you're enrolled to win the free installed Fujitsu heat pump. So the next week or so, we're gonna put everybody's name in the supercomputer here, and we'll do a little spin. and you'll be contacted for a installation of a 12,000 BTU Fujitsu heat pump. So thank you to Fujitsu for sponsoring the webinar and being able to make someone's week. Hopefully, that's a $4,000+ value. That's, I don't ever win anything, so it's nice to be able to give something to somebody. So yeah, if you want to scan the QR code on your phone, you can, or email me, call me, whatever. But we're gonna jump into some questions. We're getting some stuff that's backing up. All right. So if anybody, we're not going to go through any other information. We're going to go through the questions. So if you want to set some time aside after, feel free to reach out, book an assessment. But we're going to go through the questions here. We're going to start with John. He's got a couple questions. One, are there any rebates if you choose not to do an energy audit? Would you suggest a heat pump for each level or one for the whole house? The interest rate free loan is through who? Okay, so I can grab this one, I guess. So there are rebates if you do not want to do a home energy audit. There is a provincial rebate, as well as there is an elective OPA where you can apply for the program if you meet the income requirements that were in that table. You do not have to do an energy audit for those two. You get less rebates, but you don't have to do an audit. Two, would you suggest a heat pump for, yeah, so most of the programs need to have whole home heating, so you have to have a heat pump on every level of the house and conditions the entirety of the space. So you wouldn't put one ductless heat pump at the far end of a house with the expectation of heating the whole home, for example. And then the interest-free loan is financed through the federal government or National Resource Canada. It's a federal Canadian loan. Next, Jessica Hill. So if you qualify for multiple rebate programs, will you for sure receive the maximum rebate for each program, i.e. the amount showed in the example? Yes, so though that actually was a study that was done by a representative at Efficiency to make it somewhat clear. So those would be the examples of what each of those installations would qualify for. And you'd get all of those rebates. For an example, if your installation is $15,000 and you had $17,000 worth of rebate, they don't give you the above and beyond. They just take care of the whole bill. That's kind of the way that works. Ron Noseworthy. What's the average return on investment for solar for 30,000 watt system? Thinking of a new build.
So I mean
Yeah.
that would have to be like, that would have to be mapped out for sure. I would say, like, depending on like if you're doing rebates and the financing, most of our stuff 10 kilowatts or over are under a 10-year payback with a 30-year lifespan. But then also, like, if it's a new build, and you got to consider the financing costs in there that you would be doing or not. Or you could always wait until after you're into your house for 6 months, and then you would also still be able to then follow through this program. On a new build, I think it has to be built for a minimum of 6 months and lived in before you can qualify. But yeah, in that kind of scenario, yes, you would. The one thing that I will note is 30,000 kilowatts, pretty big system, so it'd have to be a pretty decent sized house, and you are not allowed to go over what your consumption is. So, you would really want to kind of find out exactly what your consumption would be annually, in order to, because if you, let's say you build a system and you use 10, but your system creates 12, you don't get the difference between the 10 and the 12. You get the 10 and they keep the 2. Right, so Nova Scotia Power will not allow you to actually sell power back as a profit back to you. They will only allow you to use the consumption of your home to its net zero.
Yeah, exactly. So good to have the data so you understand what because you can only do 105% of your
Yeah.
that they allow a small variance for weather.
Yeah.
But you definitely don't want to have too much, for sure.
Yeah.
No. Krista, any energy auditing companies accredited for the Better Business Bureau? I believe any company that would be on Better, they're all privately owned companies that are just credited by Efficiency Nova Scotia to do audits. So check Better Business Bureau. They should all be on there. I know Home Sol is. We're not affiliated with them. That's just who helps us with energy audits. There's 8 auditors to pick from in HRM to do an audit. It's all provincially regulated. So it's all the same. John Croft, are rentals included in any of these? No, rental properties, any of the programs we've discussed today are on primary dwelling.
Primary residence.
Yeah, there are other programs. If you have a rental building, depending on what the building is, you can reach out to Efficiency Nova Scotia. There are a separate set of rebates for commercial buildings and things of that nature. So it might be worth reaching out to Efficiency. The worst they can say is no. Mark, upfront cost of the home energy audit. So the home energy audit, I think somebody else asked this question. It's $199. Portion of it is provincially regulated and taken care of.
And I believe if you are under the moderate income to low income, they actually give you $250 towards that to cover the entire costs. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it is free if you're in the moderate to low income section.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're gonna grab another one down here. Lots of questions. Bruce, for solar, you add more panels later if you use usage increases, such as adding. You can now add panels to an existing array, but it'd be really critical when the array is designed to ensure that our systems allow, for example, the Solar Edge products that we install. Really important to make sure that solar installation being done allows that, because not all solar panels are made the same or designed the same. So really make sure who's doing your solar can do that. We'd happily give you a quote as well on solar. Tom, energy audits is including in a rebate. Energy audits including in a rebate.
So essentially,
yeah.
if you fall within the moderate to low income, then yes, you would be able to get a free energy audit.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another question. I know there is a list of eligible ductless heat pumps for rebates. If I go for a multi-head heat pump, do all heads units need to include on the list or just the outside unit?
It is the outside unit that well, it is the outside unit that they refer to. There's a lot of we've seen a lot of confusion in the past about rebates, where if they have like a single zone where it's like one outdoor unit, one indoor unit, they actually have to match up. But when it comes to the multi-zone units, it has the outdoor unit, right? And then they don't necessarily list the indoor units unless there is an exclusion. So there are a couple of exclusions. There is actually one exclusion, is that if it's like one of our attic ducted units, what we call, it's like a slimline ducted unit, those actually have to be a single zone, so you wouldn't be able to use them on a multi-zone. But the heads, unless it actually says, except for like I believe it says, it doesn't include, this type of thing. But if it's just the outdoor unit, then all heads qualify.
Michael, any programs if you heat with wood? The only program that I'm aware of is not something that we do, is pellet stove and wood stoves have a provincial rebate of around $500, something like that. If you're doing an install, Efficiency has that information on their website too. Tom, rebate is needed to apply by myself, or will you issue it instead of us? Everything is either done by an energy auditor or it's done by Efficiency Nova Scotia if you're going through the OHPA program. There's a couple documents that we have to acknowledge on the OHPA program, an attestation form and a release of funds. Aside from that, everything else is done by somebody else.
And there is 2 ways to go through that program. One is that you get the energy audit done, and if you're underneath the income threshold, then you will get the free energy audit. But if you don't want to do the energy audit, or if you want to get into the system quicker, you can actually go right onto Efficiency Nova Scotia's website. And there is an application form right there where you can submit all of your information and your documents, because you do also have to submit like your tax returns for the house to make sure that you do qualify under that program. But if you wanted to get the ball rolling quicker, that would be probably the best way to go about doing things, because you could literally go on to Efficiency Nova Scotia's website right now and start filling in that application form.
Yeah, exactly. Sue has a question. Are there any restrictions on rebates for condos? Great question. Any condominium, with 4 units or greater, so 3 or less, qualifies. That would typically be like a townhouse condominium. Any multi-res condominiums do not qualify. If you have any further questions about how that works, you can give me a shout afterwards for sure. Michael, can you get this financing if you want to upgrade a garage or an outbuilding? So kind of two-part. Outbuildings do not qualify. If you have an attached garage, even if it's attached with like a breezeway, for example, like a walk path, it has to be a part of the house that would qualify, but like an off garage wouldn't. And yes, it does include solar, so up to $40,000, 0% over 10 years. Another question. I have a rental property, want to convert from oil heating. Are there any programs, not the OPA program? Any of the things we just listed are all primary residency, but the same as the other one, reach out to efficiency. There are separate rebate programs for all sorts of other stuff. Michael Brown, can this be done for new builds once you're in the house for 6 months or longer? Are there any programs for those who have heat pumps? They are 15 years old and want to upgrade them. Richard, can you answer this one?
So all of these units, all of these programs would apply for you, except for the provincial portion of the rebate. The provincial portion of the rebate, which is on a ducted $500 per ton or $300 per ton on a mini split. You would not be able to get the provincial portion of the rebate. But if you were doing like part of the OPA program, like if it's an add-on or something like that, you would. You would also qualify for, no matter what income level, you could qualify for that 0% financing for 10 years. And there's no income threshold, or it doesn't matter whether you're replacing units or not.
Yeah, perfect. Question. Can I send me the slides? Can you send me the slide? Yeah, and we're gonna this is being recorded. We're gonna cut it down, throw it on our YouTube, and we'll send it out as a mailer to everybody so you can see it afterwards. Interested in a mini split for one of the floors. Perfect. If you want to scan the QR code, if you're still here, Linda, we'd be happy to come over and go through some options with you in person. Helen, what if you just purchase a home and can't prove the 500 years of usage? You would be implying, to our knowledge, you have to have that. Maybe it might be something you can get from the previous owner's account and provide to efficiency. You do need that information in order to qualify.
Yeah,
they're pretty fine on the details. So, Suzanne, which rebates are not income dependent? Richard can handle that one.
So provincial rebates would be on a ducted system, a qualifying ducted system and qualifying mini splits is $500 for every 12,000 BTUs on a ducted system. So if it's a 3-ton, 36,000 BTU unit, there would be $1,500 in provincial rebate. And then if it's mini splits, it is $300 per ton. So you would get, for every 12,000 BTUs, you're doing a 3-head 36,000. That would be a $900 rebate. And if you're doing the whole house and you were doing like covering the whole house, you would also qualify for the 0% financing.
Okay, Brenda's got a question. Could a defective heat pump replacement qualify for rebates? I think we just covered that. Heat pump. I had a heat pump in question, has a motherboard, thermostat, compressor, all replaced. By Sunshine Renewable that does not heat properly. Brenda, can you send me an email so we can connect on that after? I'd love to hear from you just about your repair and some questions. Please, my email's on the slide deck. Rachel, can we confirm that the 10-year interest loan is not income-based? It is not income-based. No. It uses CMHC lending criteria, so the same like TDSR financing criteria as a standard loan. So doesn't matter how much you make as long as you fall within the application criteria.
As long as you have the credit.
Yeah, it's credit-based. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sarah, are solar panels worth it if you have a very small home / roof, say a semi-detached that's about 800 square feet on the main level? The honest answer, not every single home is an applicant for solar. We do a free solar assessment. So if you want to jump on our website, solar personalized quote, there's a little QA you fill out. And then Mackenzie, who's our solar designer, will send you over a proposal. And or not, she might reach out and say, hey, it's not working, orientation of house, roof is too small,
Yeah,
whatever.
your house could be facing the wrong direction. It
Yeah,
could be, like,
exactly.
lots of trees around and shading. So
Yeah.
every house is very different.
Yeah, and for solar to make sense, you typically want to be in that 10 to 12 year return on investment window,
Yeah.
which represents about an 85%, 80 to 85% offset of energy usage. But if you want to touch on that after, I would love to chat about it. Stephen, can you briefly describe the ducted heat pump type of attic heat pump system you mentioned? Does the air handler unit need to be installed in the attic? Richard can handle that.
So we typically do install it in the attic, and we insulate all of the ductwork, and we insulate the unit becomes insulated, and we insulate the unit as well. However, it could be installed in like a closet, and then the pipes can be run up, but the pipes do run up through the attic. What we do is, like I would say probably like 98% of them are just installed in the attic, and we double insulate from the outside as well. And then, like if you were to add insulation over the ducting and everything like that, it would make it it would make it more efficient again. But yes, it could, in theory, a laundry room that's upstairs. It could, in theory, be, a closet. Yeah, I mean, it could be installed anywhere really, just as long as we have the space to run the ducting around.
Perfect. Holly, do I contact you or someone will come here and review my best options based on the report? I've been approved for OPA and already had my assessment and received my report. I found it all very confusing. So we did too. We're with you there. That was kind of the reason we wanted to have this, was so we can all sort of sit down and we can share what we know and you can ask the questions. We would love to do a free assessment where we'll come over and go through things with you in person. Nobody that works for us is on commission, so purely there to give you some advice based on whatever you're looking to do and help you kind of navigate through this new program. Because it is, yes, a little a little confusing. I want to install a heat pump plus tankless hot water.
I'll jump in on this one. So heat pump, definitely awesome. Tankless hot water heater, we get that question all the time here. So tankless hot water in Canada, or like anywhere that's not like Texas or Florida or anything like that, California, it is not practical here. Our groundwater is too cold. So what happens is that you have to put in so much power in order to get that groundwater up to temperature for doing like baths or showers or anything like that. So you're talking like easily like could be 100 amps that you'd be taking out of your panel just to do your domestic hot water. It's not viable here, in my opinion. You like in a typical house, most houses under like 3,500 square feet, we can get you off of oil and a full conversion in a 200 amp service, and that's still you being able to have like an electric car charger. But once you start going into that tankless hot water tank, even a small house could end up having to go to 400 amp service, which is just like it's overkill. So a good quality electric hot water heater, and then when you're choosing your electric hot water heater, it would be down to like how many people are in the house. So if there's only one or two of you, you only need a 40 gallon. Or if somebody in the house likes to take baths and you have a huge bathtub, maybe you want a 60 gallon. Or if you have 5 or more people, maybe you're looking at something else. But really at the end of the day, when it comes to the domestic hot water, it should be done through an electric hot water tank. Or if you really want to go to that like that instant hot water, it has to be done through like a fuel. It has to be done through propane or natural gas. That would be the solution for instant hot water.
Here's a question. Can you get rebates if you install solar panels for your detached garage or is it just for your house? So as long as it's your property, you can do an outbuilding garage, you can do a ground mount, or, you know, it doesn't really matter. It would still qualify for the programs because it's bi-directional metering, so it's going through the meter of your house. It just, if you, I guess, if you have a garage that has its own separate service, for example, it can't be connected to that. Well, it could be, but you'd want to connect it to your primary house. Tom, included electricity panels from 100 to 200 amps.
So if you're in that moderate income program, they will apply as much of the rebate to all of the necessary upgrades in order to get you off of oil.
Yep, exactly.
Uh,
Mark O'Connor had a question about time of day metering. Time of day metering in conjunction with solar. I thought meters just calculated hours of electricity consumed versus hours consumed, giving a net total. Can metering
No.
tell me what my day electricity is consumed? So time of day metering. Well, so
So time of day, if you're on time of day meter, it is essentially like it's technically a 3-tier system. So from 11 o'clock at night until 7 in the morning, they charge it's basically half the rate, right? And then from 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, they charge you just the regular rate, right? All weekend long, it's always half price. But there is from December 1st until February 28th, there is 2 peak periods during the day where they charge you a little bit more. It's not double. I think it's a little bit, it's like about half extra during the 2 peak periods. And when you get your time of day meter bill, if you're on the time of day meter, they actually show you how much you use during what times. But with your just general regular everyday meter, it's just one rate, so they don't actually segregate when you're using power. There are products that you can buy that can actually show you those things, and we can hook them up to your panel, and it can, it'll show you like how much your refrigerator runs and how much your heat pump runs and all that kind of stuff. But that is actually a product that we would have to supply and install you.
Rachel, do you know the approximate cost rather of an energy audit? If you're not having it subsidized by the moderate income program, it's $199. Ron had a question. What about heat storage systems, i.e. batteries for solar? They're kind of different. Batteries for solar are not justifiable in our market at all. If we lived in Arizona or something,
I don't even know, like
I don't even know.
it's not really,
Not a northern climate
it's
thing.
not really a solution for here. They're just so expensive.
You're 20,
You know,
15, 20 grand.
yeah, and your return on investment, even with the time of day meter, is it's very challenging to justify. We've gone over the numbers a bunch of times.
The only time batteries might be justifiable is if in a high-end application that somebody's looking at doing like a Generac whole home generator. You could do a battery bank as a home generator option. They're kind of in the same price range, but then you also have to have an outbuilding for the batteries, and it's not as simple as it sounds.
Yeah, it's hugely expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're looking for something that's going to back up your house, then we do like Generlinks. So that's just like it attaches right to the meter base. And then you have like your home generator that you can run that'll backfeed the meter your panel, and that'll get you through for like your everyday basics. There's generator panels, and then there's also like the Generac like whole home generator system. But like in those ones you're getting into like 20,000 plus in a lot of cases. Plus you have to carry depending on the size of that generator, you have to carry a certain amount of propane tanks, usually like 3 or 4 propane tanks that you have to rent. The one we've done hundreds in the last year is that Generlink, where it's basically like it fits on your panel. And there's a plug that goes down. You buy a generator from Home Depot, and the power goes out, and that power is the main things that you need in your house during that power outage, up to the generator's limit, and obviously the actual limit, because they do in different sizes. There's 30 amp, there's 40 amp, there's 50 amp versions of that. Most people go with the 30 because that'll do your freezer, your internet, basically all the lights in your house. It basically covers everything except it won't do like heat load or your stove, or washer, and dryer, and dishwasher, right? So it'll run, all of the essentials, but and get you through that period of time essentially.
Tom, one more question. Using oil boiler for heating and hot water, what's the best solution for us and qualify for rebate? Yeah, so an electric boiler, ductless heat pumps kind of placed throughout the house strategically, and then your domestic water is done by a 60-gallon typically electric hot water tank would be the most common efficient way of doing that, and that would qualify for OHPA or the other various programs. Wayne, how often do ductless heat pumps clean, and how much to clean each head? Great question. So as needed, or we typically tell people every 16 months to be professionally cleaned. In air conditioning season, they build mildew and then subsequently mold if they're not. It gums up the coils and they don't run very efficiently. It's $169 for the first indoor unit, and then $99 for every additional indoor unit in the house. And then it's $209 for a central unit to be cleaned with filter replacement. Pat Murphy, program for seniors. Any of the programs we've discussed are regardless of age, as long as you fall within the correct bucket for the application side of things, you definitely can for sure. Alan, most of the talk is on replacing an oil system. I have baseboard, electric, and heat pump on one level, but want to add one split to our lower level. What rebates are available? Richard can probably
Just the provincial rebate of $300 for every 12. So if you're getting a 12,000 BTU, it would be $300. If you're getting an 18,000 BTU, you would get $900. Sorry, why is my brain $400? So yeah, those are the rebates that you're able to get for that.
Angela, if you get a rebate, you install solar panels on a detached garage or just your house. We answered that earlier. I think it can be any building on your property as long as your property.
Even on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dean, where did Dean go? Dean's up here somewhere behind it. Is there restrictions on whom can install for the 0% interest? It has to be a licensed installer. So Bobby, who installs heat pumps down the street, can't be the one to do the install. It has to be someone with the credentials. You need a red seal number.
You have to be in Efficiency Nova Scotia's program.
Yeah, and you have to be yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gina, I had an audit done, but I'm confused on next steps. How can I confirm what my monthly cost would be, including rebates, once funding is approved? Is there a way to find out more on this information? There is. So the best channel is the info email for efficiency to confirm how much rebate. If you also want to connect with me after, you can send me an email.
You would need a quote. So we would like the big thing with that is you would need a quote for what upgrades are.
Yeah.
Because without that quote, they can't tell you what rebates you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess if you haven't, exactly.
Yeah.
You haven't had a quote done, that would be kind of step one.
The big step would be finding out what that solution is, and then confirming what your rebates are through it with them.
Yep. And if you'd like to book one, you can scan the QR code on the page there, Gina. We'll happily jump out and give you some options. Helen, we just purchased a home in April. We haven't used 500 liters of oil yet. So if you talked about that, you have to be in the home for 6 months and you have to prove the 500 liters of oil. So perhaps something you can get from the previous owner. I'm in a condo's electric switch to heat pumps. Do I need heat pump and a water tank? So
Condo's electric. So a condo
is
like
electric.
a multi-res condo, or is it like a terrace condo? So if it's like a terrace condo, I want to switch to heat pump, and do I need heat pump water tank? So you don't need a heat pump hot water tank. Heat pump hot water tank only really applies to people with like big loads of like you have to use like a lot of hot water to justify the cost of heat pump hot water tank. Like I would say if there's less than 4 or 5 people in a house, you wouldn't even really consider, because the return on investment isn't there. The return on investment on a heat pump hot water tank is big consumption. So if you're not doing big consumption, there's really no benefit to buying one of them. And switching to a heat pump, it would be, you know, like depending on what system you're currently using, whether that be ducted or electric baseboard or hot water baseboard, it would be, we would have to kind of determine from a site visit to quote you on what the best options are there.
Yeah, for sure. Linda, just to repeat, you said about condos. I live in a 6-unit condo. Can I access 0%? 6-unit condo would not qualify. If it's a terrace condo, they do, but a multi-residential, so like a multi-floor condo, that would not qualify, unfortunately. If you just purchase a home and don't have proof of 500 liters, will they accept documents from the previous owner? I assume, but don't know for sure.
Yeah,
You have to connect with efficiency Nova
we've
Scotia.
not asked that. If you send us an email, we can always send an email in and find out for you.
Yeah, we can get it.
But that's a question that we haven't asked.
Can you briefly describe ducted type of attic heat pump systems you mentioned, and does the air handler unit need to be installed in the attic? Richard, can you answer that one?
Did we already?
I think might have already answered
I think
that.
we answered that
Yeah,
question.
we did actually, right. Pat, any rebate programs for seniors? We already answered that. Anybody can apply, doesn't matter. Joan, can you keep your oil furnace and add a heat pump to have both options using existing ductwork? You can technically, you don't have to remove oil. You're very limited on what you can do. There are add-on heat pumps by various manufacturers that technically qualify, but if you're taking advantage of the program and you have the rebates there, you should look at just removing everything and just being done with oil.
The big thing with this is that there's like the top quality brands that sell heat pumps, that manufacture heat pumps, they don't do these systems. There are a couple of like off brand machines that you can get where you would technically qualify. But the other things that you really need to consider about in all of this, which I say to people, is, you know, you got to look at the age of your furnace. You really got to look at the age of your oil tank, because you're always going to have to replace your oil tanks because they always have a time limit on them. Insurance companies are getting tighter and tighter on this over all the time. And then, for example, if your furnace did go and you've put your heat pump in, now what your option is either scrapping that unit that you just bought along with your furnace, and then going straight back over to electric, or buying a brand new oil furnace, us coming, taking the heat pump out of the furnace, then somebody else coming in, putting in a new furnace. And if, you know, if a furnace dies now, chances are like there's been code changes. So changing a furnace now is like, you know, like sometimes I'm hearing quotes from customers like, you know, $15,000 to $20,000 for, you know, redoing a chimney liner, or the, you know, the codes have changed and you have to do this, or, you know, adding an oil tank on top of it all. You know, you can end up, you know, spending, you know, good money after bad. The only reason or even thought that I would even consider really keeping that oil furnace is like, you know, if you're really eager to have backup heat that you could run off of, you know, like a gas generator in the winter time. But that would be really like, that would be the only single benefit that I can think of from not taking advantage of those rebates and getting off of oil altogether, really.
Krista, do you offer solar generator options as part of the install? That would be basically a general link. Some of the information is available on our website for that. Rachel, what is needed to prove oil consumption? You need a receipt. We kind of answered about owning a home previously. As long as you have used 500 liters of oil and you can prove that, you qualify. I don't have the answer if taking possession of the home on other bills.
That actually looks like a good,
Yeah.
like it looks like a good case to me. However, we can't answer that for you. That's definitely that definitely, like, so obviously 600 liters was added, which is over the 5.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like it would be
sounds like it
but
makes sense, but I mean, Efficiency Nova Scotia, they're their own animal. I would definitely check with them on that.
What if we qualify for OPA? Do we pay the heat pump once the rebates come? every contractor works a little differently, but the general way OPA works is they'll actually advance the contractor the $15,000, and then provide the rebates after the installation has been completed in full. For us, we work pretty closely with customers going through that process, so there shouldn't be anything out of pocket after, provided the rebate covers the total installation. But it depends on the scope of install. Jessica, we've already had 3 quotes for ductless systems. All 3 recommended different sizes: 2, 2.5, 3 ton.
For ducted.
Yeah, so the easiest way for most people, their sizing a heat pump based on the square footage of a house roughly is if you've had an energy audit. In the energy audit, the home energy report has your heating load, your current heat load of the house in a kilowatt. If you wanted to even email that over to me, Jessica, I can reverse it to give you the current BTU heating load of the house based on your energy assessment. It's the best way.
There's a couple of things, there's a couple of other things that fall in place there too. I know with the way we do things is like, I mean, no, I don't think there's really many, if any, heat pump contractors out there that actually send like a technician out to do the quote. The way we do it here is we send, a rep. They come out, they who's been, trained and knowledgeable in the equipment and sizing and stuff like that. But ultimately, if you were to do work with us, it would be basically down to our technician, because before we actually do a job like this for someone, we actually send a technician out, because there are a couple of things that fall within that. One is, the heat loss of the house. You could have very, very bad insulation and have a need for a higher heat pump, but at the same time, you might only have the capacity of a heat pump that is a little bit below that because of the actual ductwork. So there's a lot of information that has to go into making sure that we're giving you the best option available to you, given the circumstances that you're under, which is why we don't rely necessarily on the initial person to come out. The differences between, a 2-ton and a 2.5 ton and a 3-ton and a 4-ton is not a huge difference in cost, because they're all basically like, they're just a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. It's the initial cost of a machine. So if we were to send a technician out and they were to say, oh, well, we actually should go down or we should go up, that would be down to an actual Red Seal technician to truly determine that.
Yep. John, what's the minimum service required for installation of ductless heat pumps? Looking at possibly 2 and 3 heads. Most oil heated homes, 100 amp is usually okay. Part of the in-home assessment is to validate your amperage. If you're on 100 amp and you're on primary electric heat, you have a smaller house, you need to do 200 amp. But a part of our in-home assessment is to confirm.
And then the other things to think about is, do you have a hot tub? Do you have an electric car charger? Do you have a swimming pool with a heat pump? These things mostly fill up 100 amp panel along with the regular stuff on your house, right? So, if you have a hot tub and 100 amps, chances are, you might not even get one heat pump in. If you have a swimming pool with a heat pump to heat the pool, chances are you're pretty close to that 100 amps already again. But if you heat with oil and you don't have any of these extras, your actual load in your house as a standard is really only your dryer and your stove. Those are the only 2 major loads in your house. So most houses can go full heat pump with 100 amps. I usually say until you get to maybe about 3,500 square feet, then you're kind of like looking at maybe doing the upgrade without those like extra things that I was talking about, the hot tub, the swimming pool with the heat pump and things like that.
Perfect. We just got a few more questions we're gonna go through. If any other questions you have and you think of submitting that you haven't, send me an email and I'll either answer it or get an answer for you. We just got a few more questions we're gonna get through here quickly, so everybody can be on their day. Tom, one more question. Is a rebate 15 or up to 30 for oil boiler replacement with heat pump and electric heater? It can be up to 30 grand provided you qualify for the Moderate Income Home OPA program. They will top up to $30,000 to do a whole home conversion. Jermaine, switching from heat pump, already electric condo, do I remove electric baseboard heaters attached to the, no, electric baseboards stay, and then you supplement that heating with the ductless heat pumps. I have to go back to work now. I apologize. We do as well soon. Chris, there continues to be changes to the various rebates and programs. Are you aware of any upcoming changes or new programs? No, as it is now, this is what's available. We were under the impression that there might be some changes to the Greener Homes program with the federal budget, and there wasn't, unfortunately. So this is as it is now.
And this is something that I will stress on because that program that just ended, that was supposed to be a 7-year program that ended in 2.5 years. So there are limited funds. And you know, if you miss the program and you fall within that moderate income program, you know, there's no time like the present because you never know when they're going to say, hey, we've run out of money, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, it's a time sensitive matter. We weren't expecting the Greener Homes to end for the $5,000 rebate, but these are bigger rebates, and I don't know how long that money will run out.
Yeah, and talking to efficiency, they have thousands of applications
Yeah.
going through, so the adoption rate is way higher than they thought.
Yeah.
I think because a lot of people were expecting Greener Homes to be there. We got a notification on the 6th that the program was over on the 5th.
Yeah.
So it was like we kind of were blindsided as well. We were under the impression that it would start to wind down towards the end of March and there'd be some time. So anyway, been a bit of a roller coaster,
Yeah.
to say the least. But this is as it is now, and in most cases, it's actually more lucrative for some people. So, Beth, is it required to have 2 ETS unit installed rather than one? You
Yes.
have to have 2, minimum of 2 for time of day metering. You do, yeah. I had not done with Lucas. Do you remove electric baseboards from the walls? No, just
No.
install the heat pumps. Leave that. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for coming. John, what brands of heat pumps do you sell? So we deal with 2 brands exclusively because we're a Fujitsu and LG dealer. Those are the 2 brands we do only for ductless and ducted heat pumps. Dave, you dropped. Thanks for coming, Dave. Appreciate it. And then I think 1 or 2 questions. I have 2 heat pumps installed about 9 years ago. There were no rebates, only 2 or 3 contractors in the Nova Scotia. Front panel that opens, clean filters. Took me 3 months and 3 companies to tell me these front covers are discontinued. I realize things are disposable these days, but I think I should have.
Yeah, I mean, there's
That's a tough one.
that's a tough one. I mean, we don't have control over those parts. Generally, we typically that's why we go with, you know, the larger brands because they're most likely to carry the parts longer. It's Yeah,
Depends.
I mean, there are, so put it this way, there are machines that are being sold today that do qualify under the program that in 2 years there are no parts, or 3 years there are no parts. So like, you know, one thing that you really do have to do is you really have to make sure that you're going with, you know, a brand that, one, you recognize the name of at least to a degree, do some research on what that is, and so on and so forth, because we run into this all the time. And in fact, you know, I would say, you know, 25% of our business nowadays is removing some of these machines that are only a couple of years old that can't be fixed. So it's so important to really, one, choose a good contractor and choose a machine that's going to be there for a long time.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
point. Yeah, brand, like not all heat pumps are created
Yeah,
the same. Not
yeah,
all brands are the same. If
yeah,
it's too cheap to be true, it's probably true.
yeah,
Listen, there's nothing bad to say about those units. They're cheaper. They fit a certain demographic
yeah.
or buyer, but it might not always be the best long-term solution. A few more questions, and then we are going to head out here. Marg, I have 3-story home, 3-story 100-year-old home heated with oil cast iron radiators. I've had 3 home energy audits over 10 years. All these recommending ductless heat pumps. Yet when I request assessments, I get a variety of responses from the house to cut up, limitations of rooms. Who do I believe? Well, Well, who do you believe? That's a good question. For us, none of our advisors are on commission, so they're going to give you like the unbiased, it will or it will not work based on thousands and thousands and we've done 30,000 installations, so we've seen every single example, pretty much of what it can do or not do. So our
Some houses are really challenging.
some yeah, just like a
right?
100-year-old
Like,
home,
some
like,
houses, like if you have small rooms with little doors and, it's got to get out, like they don't go through the door around the corner and back over there into the kitchen and stuff like that. So I mean, heat pumps are are practical in pretty much any situation, except for there may be some things that you have to do in addition to, because cast iron radiators, if you're like on the peninsula, or if you're in Old Fairview, or things like that, a lot of them are cast iron radiator systems. They have one thermostat on the main floor that controls the whole house. Typically in those scenarios, if you're going to do any kind of changes with heat pumps and stuff like that, you're more likely looking at going to like a full conversion. The radiators come out. We put electric baseboards into every room, and then that way at least that you're going to be able to control the heat throughout the entire house. So if there's anywhere that the heat pump can't get, there's a backup in that area to cover that space. Because the last thing you want to see is somebody come in, sell you a heat pump on the main floor, and then you're running the heat pump, and the heat pump gets to the thermostat, and that thermostat goes upstairs and downstairs, and it shuts off the heat for upstairs and downstairs, and then you can't even use your heat pump at that point. So it's really important to really make sure that you're getting the information specific to your home.
yeah. And if you want us to come out and give you some, I don't know if we've been out or not, but we'd happily come out and give you some unbiased answers. Don, I need to raise my electrical panel from 100 to 200. Will the grant be able to?
If you're within that moderate income program, they definitely include like that their primary focus in that moderate income is to give you as much as basically necessary to cover almost, if not 100% of the cost of an oil conversion. It is their primary focus right now, so they will cover the cost of the service upgrade and all that stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Pat, does an electrical panel need to be breakers or can it be fuses? You could use fuse. Usually it's best practice to go to a breaker. I don't know about you, but when a fuse used to blow my parents' house years ago, it is hard to figure out what is blowing or the light looking through the glass and stuff.
And some of those breakers now are like insanely expensive to
Yeah.
buy, because they're impossible to find. So sometimes a panel swap is just a good idea. Like even just for an overall investment for your house, for if you're ever going to sell or anything like that. That panel swap, it's around $2,000 to go from fuses to breakers. And I mean, it's probably one of the best investments you could make for your house. If you already are on that 200 amps, especially, because we don't have to do any code requirements in order to swap out a panel. The difference between going from 100 to 200 is 2.5 times the cost of just swapping out a straight 200.
Yeah.
All right.
Don, is it best to reduce heat pumps at night? Our saying is set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Heat pump's not creating heat like an electric baseboard, oil furnace. It's transferring energy. It's piping, heat through refrigerant. So you want to set it to whatever temperature you feel is comfortable. Leave it alone. Use heat and air conditioning mode. Stay away from automatic. Don't schedule the thing to come on at night and off and whatever. Like just set it, forget it. John, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Is the interest-free loan for electric interest for no, I think we already talked about
No.
that. You don't qualify, fortunately. I'm sorry, Lee, but are you guys happy with the LG
Oh
product?
yeah, we use LG. We're about 50-50 LG Fujitsu, really.
Yeah, we just moved into a new building and we've installed LG here.
Yeah, we actually
my office and
in our building we have LG.
yeah, they work awesome. So even if you want to ever come by to hear them or play or touch or whatever, there's one in my office or some throughout the building. There's Fujitsu and LG, so we have a demo so you can kind of compare the units. But they've been great. We've installed thousands and thousands of these things, and they seem to be a really good product that's backed by a manufacturer who cares about customers and really, if anything's needed, they're good. Mark, like, our last question here, my current Fujitsu remote is not sophisticated. Any remotes available that can be programmed like a programmable thermostat? Depending on the unit, you can get a wall thermostat. And depending on the unit too, you could also get a Wi-Fi module to enable Wi-Fi.
We would have to know,
connectivity.
we would have to know the model number and everything like that. in order
Yeah,
to-
yeah. Mark, if you want to send me an email with what you have, or just send me an email as a reminder, I can check on file if it's something that we've installed for you and see what options you have, because there are a couple things you can do. The easiest thing probably would be the mobile phone app, and then you can control it from wherever. That is all the questions we
Question?
had.
Oh, we got them all.
We got them all. I didn't know the number kept going up. We're trying to get it so that.